Hope you guys are having a wonderful day. I hope you guys can hear me okay. What's happening? How are you today? My name is Dr. Boyce Watkins, and I'm your friendly neighborhood finance professor. And I want to welcome you to drboycetv.com, the home for intelligent Black people. You ain't got to be intelligent to be here. You just have to want to be intelligent. So every Black person who wants to be more intelligent, raise your hand. Put a B1 in the chat. You guys know that we operate on the B1 philosophy on this platform, and we are Black first. It doesn't mean we hate anybody, but we are Black first, and we really love ourselves. So give me a yes in the chat if you believe that Black intelligence is important. And I want to say hello to everybody on this very interesting President's Day. I don't celebrate President's Day, but hey, whatever. You know, it's a day off from work. So if you took the day off, I'm happy for you. Shout out the city that you're from. Let me know what city you're from, and give me a yes in the chat also that you can hear me okay. I know I spoke earlier, and I had some audio challenges. I need to learn. I learned not to do so much stuff on my phone as much. I do every now and then, just because it's easier. But I really would rather talk to you more directly, sitting at a desk. And I'm actually down in Florida. And I told you guys I went to the Daytona 500 this year, and let me tell you, it was the best experience ever. I know that there's a lot of stigma about being afraid to go down there if we're Black, but I'm gonna tell you this. I was down there the whole time. I met a lot of good people in the crowd. Saw the people at Chevy, hung out with them, hung out with some of the race car drivers. Met a Black race car driver by the name of Levar Scott. Levar Scott, 19-year-old kid, super talented. Look up Levar Scott. This is a guy that I just was so impressed with. And let me just tell you this. And before I get into this topic, you guys know the topic is Tyler Perry, and I was going to talk a little bit about that. But Levar Scott was interesting because he's a 19-year-old driver, and I watched him because he was leading his race. He was leading his race the whole time. And then he fell behind a little bit, and I didn't even know a Black guy was in the car. And then when I found out a Black guy was in the car, I said, "Hey, man, I didn't even know you were a brother. I'm so glad, nice to meet you." And I said, "Well, what's the difference between you and the guys that are running at the top of the pile in NASCAR in the Daytona 500?" And he said, "Funding." He says, basically funding. That's it. And I said, "That's it. It's just money. It's not talent. It's not experience." He said, "No, it's just money." And this really makes me think about Black wealth and why Black wealth is so important. And another thing that he mentioned, I mentioned this to you guys earlier, but it really it's like a microcosm of society. So I said, "Well, what happened? You were winning the race, and then suddenly you kind of fell back a little bit. Like what happened there? Not to second guess your driving or anything." And he said that in race car driving, usually the guys that win have somebody kind of pushing them along. They draft their cars, they get real close, like bumper to bumper, and the car behind you kind of pushes you along. And he said, "Nobody's really pushing me, so I fell back." And what that makes me think about is, for Black people, give me a guess if you understand where I'm coming from on this. And I talked to you guys about this a little bit earlier. So if you watched the podcast and you heard it before, please forgive me, but I want to repeat this, is that a lot of times, we know about situations where you're just as talented as the white guy. You're just as hardworking as the white guy. You have just as much potential as the white guy, but you get fewer opportunities, maybe because you didn't get any wealth. Your family didn't leave you any wealth. You didn't have any assets to get started off with. So you're kind of starting off from nothing. And then two, you don't have anybody pushing you. You don't have teammates. You don't have people that are kind of in your corner that are kind of helping you get ahead. And that's what I need y'all to really understand. See, a lot of times we get into this nonsense to believe that success just comes down to who worked the hardest and all this other crap. Well, no, teammates matter. Wealth matters. So Levar Scott, who's a brother that I think y'all need to look up, please, everybody, give me a yes in the chat if you're going to go Google this brother, Levar Scott. I just love this young guy, and I really just promised myself, I said, I'm going to do everything I can to support this brother. It costs too much to spend on a NASCAR team. I can't make that type of investment, but I can support him in terms of telling people about him, and maybe at some point he'll get the support he deserves. But anyway, it's like, for Black people, when you go through life and you don't have the wealth that you need to do the things you got to do, it's really hard. That's why, and this is before we even get into the Tyler Perry thing, because the Tyler Perry conversation is about wealth. I ain't just here to gossip about Madea or talk about entertainers. I'm here to really talk about the wealth lesson. So two things you got to do, and give me a yes also in the chat. If after you go Google Levar Scott and follow him and support him on social media, let him know I sent you. Let him know that we're here. Let him know the B1 presence. Let him know that intelligent Black people can lift up a race car driver, a basketball player, a sports league. Anything white people can elevate, we can elevate. Anything they can build, we can build. Anything they can do, we can do. So let him know that I sent you, so that he'll understand that he's got people pushing him. The white boys ain't gonna push you, but we gonna push you because LeVar, I like this brother. And I'm just gonna give my personal certification. I just love this kid. I was just thinking about him. He's on my heart today. And the Urban Youth Racing School is another entity that actually invited me down, and that's run by Michelle Martin, her husband Anthony, and they're just committed to teaching our kids about racing. And I think that's a great sport for Black kids to eventually dominate, just like we dominate everything else. But anyway, here's the thing. And the other thing I want you to promise me you're going to do right now, as we're going to move, I promise you, we're going to get to the Tyler Perry conversation. But y'all know me. The Holy Spirit moves me and tells me what to say to you. And that's just what it is. I'm going to let it out. But number one, promise me you're going to make sure your kids have wealth. Make sure your kids have the thing that LeVar doesn't necessarily have that could give him those same opportunities. Give them some damn wealth. Invest for your child when they're young. Go to my website, boycewatkins.com. Grab that $5 a day investing plan. The ebook is free. You can also buy a copy on Amazon. If you want to go to Amazon and buy a copy, that's fine. That'll be more money in the coffers for our war that we're fighting a war right now. We're fighting a culture war, not just economic war. It's a culture war. It's not just an education war. It's a culture war. We're fighting the culture war to change the culture so that Black people become who we're supposed to be. We belong on the throne. We belong at the top. We belong in the winner's circle. We do not belong in the back of the bus. I ain't sitting in the damn back of the damn bus. Period. So anyway, let's get back into it. Okay, so two things you got to do for your kids. One, give them some wealth. And then number two, let's give them a push. So LeVar, brother, if you see this or anybody that knows you sees this and you watch this, just know the Black community is going to push you. And also we're going to work on talking about building wealth so that our kids can have what they need so that when they have potential, they get a chance to show that to the world. All right. So do me a favor as I move on to the Tyler Perry conversation. It's from an article I read about Tyler today in Black Enterprise. If you could take 1 second, please hit that thumbs up button, hit that share, subscribe button. Hit that notification bell. The notification bell is very important because even though we have over 1 million subscribers on different platforms, we get shadow banned because that pro-Black stuff is seen as radical and scary when there's nothing scary about loving yourself. There's nothing illegal about saying that Black people should be proud and strong and connected and educated. There's nothing scary about Black people building wealth to Black people. Now, to everybody else, it's a little scary because they won't be able to exploit you. But to us, that's what we got to do. So hit that thumbs up button. All right. So let me pop in and read a little bit. There's an article in Black Enterprise about Tyler Perry, and to no surprise to a lot of you, I imagine Tyler was the only Black person listed on the Forbes list of the highest paid entertainers. I think that's really cool. The one time Tyler Perry called me was in 2014, I believe, and in that particular year, I remember it was 2 days before that phone call Tyler made to me. He had just been put on the cover of Variety magazine as the highest paid entertainer in all of Hollywood. So white people were stunned. They were like, who the hell is this guy? What's going on? How did he make all this money? And I remember I asked Tyler, I said, hey, man, how do you feel about being on the cover of a magazine listed as the highest paid person in Hollywood? That's got to be a lot of pressure. He said, I hate it. He said, I hate having everybody know how much money I make. Nobody will want their paycheck to be on the cover of a magazine. And I agree. And let me just give y'all a little secret. When you start making your money, how many future millionaires we got to build? Anybody in here going to be a millionaire one day, or your kids are going to be a millionaire? Put a yes in the chat if you or your children are going to be future millionaires, if you're building a legacy of wealth. Here's a little secret. I want you to share this with your kids. When they start making money, don't brag about it. When they start making money, don't do what the rappers do. The rappers, a lot of them, unfortunately, have not been educated on what to do with money. They run over to Jake the Jeweler and give their money to white people. They run down to the damn Gucci store so they can make Bernard Arnault another $100 billion. They run out and they run in and spend money on Bentleys and Benzes and all this other stuff. Tell your kids that when they become millionaires, keep it to your damn self. Don't go out bragging and showing off and stunting and flossing. In fact, the easiest way for me to know if you ain't really got nothing is when you show me how much you got. That tells me that you're in fake it till you make it mode, because when you make it, you ain't got to fake it. And because if you make it and then you brag about it, then somebody's going to come take it. So you might be in fake it till you make it mode, but just know that you're going to be in make it till you take it mode too, because somebody's going to come take all that money. So long story short, Tyler was smart. He's a smart guy. I don't like the Madea dress. I'm going to be honest with you. Tyler, if you're watching, I apologize, brother, but I do not enjoy the idea of seeing Black men emasculated in media. That's just my preference. I personally think Hollywood has an agenda to make us look like little boys or like little girls. Little boys and little girls are easier to control. A grown-ass man who knows who the hell he is cannot be controlled. So people like me, a black man with a PhD and very little fear are individuals that are significant threats to society, right? So ultimately, I just want to apologize. I want to apologize to all the little wimpy boys. I want to apologize to all the boys who want to be girls. I want to apologize to all the betas. I want to apologize to all the men who don't want to be men. But at the end of the day, I believe that the men who want to be men are going to be those who are going to help lead us out of this mess. So do I enjoy watching millions of people seeing black men either dressed like women or looking like thugs or promoting ignorance through hip hop? I don't enjoy any of that because that imagery negatively harms the community. Now, on the flip side of that, I'm going to say, Tyler, what I will say positive about Tyler Perry is that I like the way he talks about black wealth. I like the way he talks about ownership. And as I'm reading here in Black Enterprise about Tyler, they said that he's the only billionaire and black entertainer to make the this year's list. He earned $175 million this year. That's pretty awesome. Jay-Z wasn't on the list. Diddy wasn't on the list. I guess they didn't sell enough liquor or whatever the hell they sell, so they didn't make the list. But they said that he owns 100% of his rights, which includes over 1,200 episodes of television, 22 feature films, and at least 24 stage plays. And he also owns Tyler Perry Studios. Now, what's interesting about this, which is I'm so fascinated, so proud of him for having his wealth. I'm proud of him for promoting ownership. I'm proud of him for using this Madea setback to do something that I think is going to be ultimately beneficial to lots of people. But one of the things I really would like to challenge Tyler on and ask him about this, and he's welcome to call me again. I haven't talked to Tyler since that time. He was very gracious to me, so I have nothing to say negatively about him as a human being. He seems like a nice guy. But the thing I would like to really ask him, and I'd love for him to kind of express this, is who in the black community have you truly made into kind of the next Tyler Perry? You know, who are the I was real concerned when I saw Tyler Perry. Anybody remember this? Give me a yes if you remember this. Remember when he took a picture of his writer's room and the writer's room had one person in it? Anybody remember that? Where he said, "This is my writer's room." And so it's crazy because you got a show where there's like, 7 black female characters and one dude wrote all those characters. That unfortunately does not speak well to not just Tyler. It looks honestly a little narcissistic, a little bit like me. I need the glory. I need to be celebrated. I need everyone to tell me how wonderful I am, right? Which might be a conversation you might need to have with the therapist to figure out where that's coming from. But it also speaks to the juvenile nature of black entertainment. Right. I know smart black people who can't watch black films or watch black movies because sometimes they entertain us like children. They give us, dumbed down, kind of moronic, simple-minded stuff. And they say, well, that's what you being uppity expecting a complex story for black people because black people can't think like that. You being uppity, when you want a story that actually reflects the human experience for black people, because black people, we're just a bunch of damn cartoon characters. I don't know if anybody else ever feels that way, but unfortunately, this is why, no disrespect to Tyler, I hate saying it, but I have to be honest with y'all. I can't watch a lot of the content that might come out of Tyler Perry. So I get it. He makes the money. He does good things. I love that. I respect that immensely. But some of those stories, I mean, damn, what? Come on, man. Come on, are we ever gonna not be one-dimensional cartoon characters? I don't want to watch Meet the Browns and every day. I can watch about 2 minutes of an episode and then I say, God, man, I need to flip over and see what white folks is doing. Because at least they get to write stories that reflect their humanity. They're not always trying to be the funny guy or the drama queen or whatever, or the person who's up in the church eight days a week. I mean, all these things are important. All these things matter. All these stories should be told. But I think every story should be told, right? And so with Tyler, he made the money. He did a great job in terms of ownership. I have a lot of respect for that. But in a way, some might say he kind of cheated a little bit because, really, if you want to get ahead in America, if I ever wanted to go make a bunch of money, if I put on a dress and a wig and told jokes, I would probably make money too. And this is a problem that you have in the black community, is that in Hollywood you've kind of been typecast as a people. Black people who cheat, the ones who have an easy time making money, are those if you portray any stereotype. In fact, let's go through the list. I want y'all to name every stereotype that white people have of black people. Give me every single stereotype that you've ever seen in a movie, and I want to show you how every single one of those stereotypes will lead to massive wealth. Please hit the thumbs up button while you do that. Thumbs up, share, subscribe, Also, just a reminder, my new book is called The 10 Commandments of Black Economic Power. You can get a copy at my website, boycewatkins.com, or you can also go to Instagram, or not, I'm sorry, Amazon and get a copy there too. All the reviews. Thank you for those who've left a review. If you buy one, please leave a review. The reviews are very, very good, and I appreciate that. All right, so what are some stereotypes? Let's see here. Shaka says you're talking about black caricatures, and you're spot on. Yeah, absolutely. Let's see, if it makes money because people like it for whatever reason. Yeah, they do. Okay, Lady Shay says ignorance. Yeah, so if you're black and if you're black and intelligent, it's harder to make money than if you're black and stupid, because they think black people are stupid. So if you're like, dabba, dabba, doop, dabba, dabba, if you listen to some of the rappers, they don't use complete sentences. How dare them use the multisyllable words? And Grant Cardone, I talked to you guys earlier about Grant Cardone, the real estate guy, who said that because his audience is half black and under 40, he uses street language. He said very simple nomenclature. He said, was it get simple and to the point, right? Because there's a perception that black people are very simple-minded, and this is old school. This goes all the way back 200 years. If you watch movies of black people 100 years ago, there were black people who were very famous for being dumb. Okay, broke, broke. Yeah, we do end up looking broke. Let's see, maids. Yeah, you see movies like The Help and stuff like that. Let's see, Veronica says pimps. Oh, yeah. Well, in the 70s, they created the whole black exploitation genre where they literally trained millions of black men to think like pimps. So in a generation later, when you hear Snoop Dogg saying, we don't love them hoes, well, those words in the 1990s came from messages that were created in the 1970s. So ultimately, this also connects to the fact that how many of you know a black man who don't take care of his kids? How many of y'all know a black man who's making babies and ain't showing up for his family? How many of y'all know a black man who just doesn't have any concept of what it means to lead children and lead a woman? It comes from the culture. It comes from these things that are mass promoted in media. This is a toxic issue. So what we're talking about here, when I come to you guys and I talk about things like financial literacy and wealth building and all that, this is not a wealth battle. This is not an educational battle. Because wealth is available to you if you want it. You got 1.6 trillion in spending power. If you learn how to just use it the right way, you'll be as wealthy as you want to be. You already have more money than most countries on this planet, so you can't have much more than what you have. You may have a little bit more, but it's very, very hard because you're already near the top. It's not an educational battle because education is available to anybody with a cell phone. So if you open up your iPhone and look for knowledge on any topic, you can open up ChatGPT or Google and find anything you want to find out, right? This is a culture war. This is a culture war. A culture war means that, even though the education's available, the question is, do you value the education? That comes from culture. Your culture tells you what your values are going to be. So if I'm ignorant and I value being stupid and I value being a day late and a dollar short, or I value acting, pimping these hoes and all this other nonsense that they promote in media, then it doesn't matter how much education you give me access to. I'm not going to use it. I'm not going to use it. It's like health food. If I don't have a culture in my household that promotes healthy eating, then I'm going to walk past the lettuce and the carrots and the vegetables every time so I can get to the McDonald's and to the Popeye's chicken. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like literally, you could put a health food store. If my culture does not promote healthy eating, you could put a health food store right next to my house and make all the food free. I'm not going to eat at that store. I will walk 10 miles to get to the Popeye's chicken. Do you understand? So the problem that you have, black people, is that unfortunately in American media, they have, through many of these Jewish and white-owned companies and record labels and entities like BET, they have gotten you addicted to a toxic culture when it comes to your economics. They've gotten you addicted to a toxic culture when it comes to your family structure. They've gotten you addicted to a toxic culture when it comes to your work ethic. They've gotten you addicted to a toxic culture when it comes to what you do with your money, right? So what I'm saying to you is this is something I realized over time. I said, damn, man, I know every single thing you need to know about finance to be successful. I've taught it for 25, 30 years almost. Actually, this is my 30th year teaching finance. I taught my first class at the University of Kentucky in 1993. I could tell you anything you want to know, but if your culture ain't right, if you don't have the right value system, then nothing I say is going to matter. It's going to go in one ear and out the other. Everything I tell you is not going to apply. You're going to be like the fat guy who's teaching the gym class, who can tell you everything you need to do to be healthy, but he's still got a big ass beer belly because he ain't doing none of it. Do you understand what I'm saying? Do you get what I'm saying? All right. So some of the other stereotypes. Christina says drug dealers. Yes, you can make a lot of money playing a drug dealer in Hollywood. Athletically gifted. Yep, they believe that we can only play sports and that's it. And I think that's crazy because in my view, in fact, when I was talking to that race car driver, Levar Scott, the 19-year-old, he said something to me. He said, man, this racing thing's got to work out. If this doesn't work out, I can't do anything else. I said, man, don't you even say that. Let's kill that conversation right now. I said, because do you understand what you just did? I said, you just went up in front of thousands of people and drove 200 miles an hour around this slanted race car track. I said, I've been driving 30 years. I can't do what you just did. So the amount of focus and intensity, you risked your life to do this because race car drivers get killed all the time. I said, the fact that you were able to do this means that you could do anything. I said, if you apply that same focus and intelligence and intensity to anything you do, you will succeed. You can succeed at business with that skill. You can succeed at being a father with that skill. You can make as much money as you want with that skill. So don't tell me that you can't do anything else. In my view, you can do things that only 1%, less than 1% of the population can do. This is true for so many of your black boys that play sports. Do y'all understand? You're talking to an athlete here. I did every single sport except baseball. My biological father was a great baseball player. I wish he stuck around because I think I would have been good at baseball. I wish he had taught me. Nobody taught me how to play, so I didn't know what to do. But I played football, I played basketball, and I ran track. And I would have been great at tennis. I would have been great at golf and like baseball too. I think I would have been great at all those sports. So, and do you understand that most of the success that I had when I went to college and I was the number one black student on the entire campus, do you know where that came from? That came from an athlete mentality. I was a competitor. I'm still a competitor. I'm 50. I was a 21-year-old competitor. I'm a 51-year-old competitor. Everything you learn from sports, the things your son and your daughter is learning from sports about hard work, teamwork, planning, preparation, strategy, intensity, never giving up, coming back from failure. Do you know that all these values are exactly what you need to win the game of life? Life ain't nothing but a damn competition, black people. That's what it is. And your problem is you've been trained to be the biggest loser. You got them telling you in school that being black means you are like a damn disabled puppy dog. That you're supposed to give up every time things get hard, that you're supposed to cower down every time a white man walks in the room, that it's because everything's hard for you, you ain't even supposed to try. That's why you lose sometimes, because you don't try. Give me a kid from the hood that's got heart and intensity and focus and commitment and determination. I would pin him up against any spoiled, privileged, rich white kid in a minute. Because that kid who's got the focus and intensity, who's constantly learning, who's constantly making strategic moves, who's constantly moving forward, who's never giving up, eventually that person's going to pass everybody up when it comes to being successful. And so just like when I was at the Daytona 500, I was talking to Levar Scott, the race car driver, about everything it takes to win a race. You know, you crash into a car and you keep going. You pick up, you back up, you're moving around, you're strategizing, you're dealing with fear, all this stuff. I said, that's exactly what you need to do to succeed in life. I said, you can't win on that racetrack if you're not trained to be a winner. If you don't have a winner's mindset, then you might as well not even show up because you won't have a chance in hell. So ultimately, again, this is my point here. And I know we would start talking about Tyler Perry and his money, and I'll finish up with that, right? So we can kind of feel like we have some sort of focus here. But y'all know me. I got to lay it out the way it comes to me. God just tells me what to say, and I say it. But I'm telling you, at the end of the day, black people, when you talk about what you're dealing with, you are not in a war of education or access to education. Everybody has access to education. You're not really in a war of resources. If you apply that 1.6 trillion, you could build anything you want. You could buy an entire sports league with the 1.6 trillion and still have money left over. The amount of money that even Kanye West threw away with Adidas when he decided that he was so mad at Jewish people, he wanted to give away $250 million a year. Do you understand that just 2 years of Kanye's income could literally endow 4 HBCUs for the next 200 years? He could endow an entire HBCU and have it be in the top 10 in endowments. He could have done that every single year as long as he was getting paid by Adidas, literally. You know, in fact, let me show you. Let me just literally make this point to you because I think this is an important point. If you could hit the thumbs up button While we talk about this is just I really want to make a point about this cultural war that we're in, because I really need you to understand the damage that's being done when they're training you to be losers, when they're filling your brains up with stereotypes, when they're teaching you to become babies, mamas, and thugs and gangsters and pimps and hoes and all this other stuff. What they're killing, the possibility that they're assaulting when they do this. And by the way, my website is boycewatkins.com. If you just came in, my name is Dr. Boyce Watkins. I'm kind of smart, but I'm also half crazy. So just be ready to be offended at some point, because I'm gonna tell you the truth, whether we like it or not. If you don't agree with me, that's fine. That means you're thinking, and I love you anyway. And I appreciate you guys coming by. If you could hit the thumbs up button, thumbs up, share, subscribe. And I want to remind everybody that we're doing the Black Wealth Boot Camp Tour. We're going to start in Los Angeles in March. So if you'd like to come out to join us in Los Angeles, I'm going to do a deep dive intensive training on my book, The 10 Commandments of Black Economic Power. And there we go. There's the screen share so you can kind of see it. And it's 2 straight days of economic training. You can bring your family, bring your spouse, bring your kids, bring your baby daddy, whatever you want to do. I'm only going to do 6 cities, Philly, Brooklyn, Dallas, Houston, and LA, actually 5 cities. And then we're going to be done. So feel free to do that. All right. You can go to boycewatkins.com if you'd like to learn more about it. All right. So if you look at HBCU endowments, look at this. It's kind of insane. Let me show you all. These are the university endowments in thousands. This shows you what Kanye, just Kanye West alone, not to pick on Kanye, but this is just something that even Kanye could have done by himself. Howard University has the biggest endowment of all HBCUs at $795 million. Spelman's number 2 at $530 million. Hampton's at $379. Morehouse is at $278. So Morehouse, the number 4 endowed HBCU in the country, has an endowment of $278 million. In case you don't know, endowments are what universities use to live off of. This is what allows them to survive for the next 200 years. Kanye West, I saw his finances, by the way. When I talked to Kanye, he had his accountant send me all his financial stuff, and I looked at it and I gave him my assessment of it. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. And literally, this brother was bringing in $250 million a year. And now y'all know me. I'm about it. You know, I'll fight anybody, any battle, whatever. But I remember the biggest frustration that I had when we were on the phone was I said, I really don't know if being mad at Jewish people is enough for you to throw away $250 million a year, because with that amount of money, you could fund an entire HBCU for the next 200 years, and you could do that by yourself every single year until you're dead, and even after you're dead, if you plan your trust in your estate plan properly. Now, again, I just want you to understand that, because here's the deal. The battle we were having when Ye and I were on the phone, complete respect to Kanye. He seems like a nice guy. The battle we were having was a cultural battle. It wasn't a battle of knowledge and information. Like, it wasn't like we didn't have access to financial information or financial experts. It's not like there it was a battle of resources. Like, Jewish people tried to cancel him, sure, but Adidas wanted to give him that money. They want to work with him. They may eventually work with him at some point. The problem was that if you're spending, if you can't understand why I'm telling you that it would make sense to go and endow an HBCU, but you think it makes perfect sense to go spend $10 million on a goddamn Kardashian. I'm pausing right there because I just want y'all to understand the sheer stupidity that we're dealing with sometimes. I don't know what to do. See, what I'm saying to you, black people, and I'm going to get off of Kanye because I don't want to make this about him. I'm saying to you that you're like a football team. Our community is like a football team. I'm going to say we because I'm not picking on anybody. Our community, we're like a football team, and we're playing in the Super Bowl of life. And every time we get handed the ball, we throw the ball right back to the opposition. We literally, every time we get we get the ball and we got a wide open lane to the end zone, we run in the other direction. Every time we get a chance to score points, put points on the board, somebody want to take the damn ball and throw it in the stands. Stop letting these people train you to be stupid. Stop letting these people train you to throw away opportunities. Stop letting these people convince you that there's anything redeeming about a culture that is training your children to die an early death that's training them to never grow themselves intellectually, that doesn't want them to become good husbands, fathers, and leaders, and all the things that they're capable of becoming. This is what bothers me about entertainment. Do you know how many young black kids I see that could do anything, but they literally are doing absolutely nothing because somebody told them that doing nothing is the best way to be black? That's not what the advanced white people are doing. That's not what Indians are doing when they have potential. When they get an opportunity, they bust through the hole. They hungry for it. They'll pay for their kids to go to the tutoring classes and the college prep training courses and all that stuff. They'll do all so again, not to put anybody on a pedestal, but I mean, come on, man. This doesn't make any sense. You have opportunities. Stop acting like white people don't let you do nothing. Sometimes they sitting back just like, well, we ain't even say nothing to them. They're choosing to do this. I get it. We know what racism did. Racism got into your head, but now it's in your head. It's not necessarily. I've never met a white. I've been around a lot of white people in my life. I'm gonna tell you the truth. I have never ever met a white man who told me I could not read a book. Has anybody? Give me a yes or no. Has anybody ever met a white man who told you that you can't download the Kindle app and read a book, or the Audible app and listen to an audio book? Has a white man ever told you? Has a white man? Let me ask you, have you ever met a white man who told you that you can't take care of your kids? That, if I catch you being a good father, boy, I'm gonna lock you up for insubordination and for breaking the law, because good fatherhood is against the law, boy. Has anybody ever seen a white man that told you you can't be a good parent? Has anybody ever met a white man who stopped you from filing a form for an LLC to start your family business? Is there like a black business clan, a black business KKK that comes around and goes in people's houses and rips up the paperwork when they try to file the paperwork for an LLC? And I'm gonna just tell you, I admit I don't appreciate some of the boogeyman rhetoric that gets stuck into our heads, where we're constantly looking for somebody to block us from doing something that we're perfectly free to do. And so it's either you're being trained to be a baboon and stupid and ignorant and lazy and stuck, or you're being you're being indoctrinated into boogeyman culture, where they're working so hard to convince you that a Trump supporter is going to come along and shoot your whole family and take away your ability to go and take care of your own children or read a book, that literally you have to make stories up. You have Jussie Smollett, who had to go out and make up a damn story about Trump supporters attacking him because he couldn't find none. I'm like, if all these yahoos are around that are trying to kill us and trying to keep us from being educated, wouldn't it be easy to find one as opposed to making one up? He had to make up a whole damn story because a lot of that narrative just really ain't true. I went to the damn Daytona 500. I was in the deep South. I was in Florida, the same state Trayvon Martin got killed in. And I went to the Daytona 500. Yes, I saw RVs. Every stereotypical sign of a redneck or hillbilly, I saw every one of them. I saw the RVs. I saw the cans of Budweiser. I saw the barbecue pits. I saw people, with the pickup trucks, big monster pickup trucks. I saw all of that. Every single thing that the cowboy hats, everything you associate with a country ass white person, it was there, and it wasn't there in tiny doses. It was there by the thousands, like 130,000 people at this thing. Guess how many times somebody came up and called me the N-word? Guess how many times somebody came up and said, "Boy, we don't like your type up in these here parts, boy. We gonna take you out of here, boy." How many times you think that happened to me? How many times you think somebody came up? I saw a guy wearing a Trump hat. I saw a couple of them. He didn't mess with me. I ain't mess with him. Seriously. And so what I'm trying to tell you all is look, I'm not fighting against what you're saying. When you talk about racism and racial inequality existing, yes, it's real. When I talked to that black race car driver, Levar Scott, and he told me why he didn't have a chance to run in the big race, in the big Daytona 500, he explained it. He said, I didn't have anybody pushing me, and I don't have the money. That's the racism, y'all. That's the inequality. That's the problem. That's the systematic racism. That's the boogeyman. That's the culprit. The culprit is that, number one, when you are going into a culture that's predominantly white, many of you, like if you go into corporate America, it's the same effect. You don't get ahead because nobody's pushing you. You don't have a mentor. You don't understand the culture. You're not one of the boys. So yeah, they're not going to push you in corporate America, which is why black people have to have our own businesses. So I mentioned to him about a racing league that black people had 100 years ago. A lot of y'all don't know this. I think it was called the Glory Sweepstakes or something like that. We had our own black-owned racing league, but y'all spending all your time trying to connect with what white folks got going on. So unfortunately, you end up going into spaces that other people have already claimed. The second piece about the wealth issue is very important in America. We are owed reparations. The wealth was taken from us without a doubt. But the other part of racial inequality that you got to pay attention to is that not only was your wealth taken from you, but something more valuable than your money was taken. The money was the cheap thing that they took. The money was the least valuable thing they took away from you. But shoot, when they took away your families, oh, they took trillions. When they took away your self-esteem, oh, they murdered you they stomped your head into the ground with that. When they started promoting a culture that takes away your core value system, then that's when they took away $100 trillion in black potential and black wealth. Because imagine if we lived in a world where every black man wanted to be a great father, every black woman wanted to be a great mother. Imagine if we lived in a world where every black person valued education over entertainment. Imagine if we lived in a world where black people conserved our resources as opposed to giving them all away. Imagine if we lived in a world where we wanted to be the best and we wanted to succeed instead of slinking to the back of the classroom and thinking that it doesn't matter because we know how to play basketball. Imagine if we spent as much sending our kids to tutoring camps as we spend sending them to basketball camps. Imagine that world, and we would have all the success we want. We'd be right there. We'd be killing it. Imagine if you had athletes and entertainers that weren't wasting their time trying to own 1% of an NFL team, and instead were trying to own 100% of a black-owned professional sports league. Imagine that. Imagine that. Imagine if all of our energy was spent, instead of our energy being spent working for some white man, our energy was spent working for the family business. All of us did it because that was just the core value. That's just what we do. That's just how we roll. That's just how we think. That's just how we operate. Like it ain't about the money. It's about maintaining the culture. Imagine if that was the culture, instead of the culture being one where you're supposed to go work for white people and then go to a white university, go $100,000 in debt and then die in debt because you never learn how to start a damn business. You never learn any relevant skill to help you actually build any wealth. You don't leave a legacy. You die and your damn kids are out here at the church begging for money because all they got is a GoFundMe to pay for things that you should have been taken care of in life. That's why I tell you, and I submit to you, that generally speaking, we are not in a war in terms of access to education. We are not in a war in terms of access to wealth. You have 1.6 trillion. That's plenty of money. You do it wherever you want with 1.6 trillion. Access to education, that's not the battle. We have access to everything. If you have a cell phone, you have access to all the knowledge ever created in any university in history. The war is a cultural war because culture shapes your values. Values shape what you choose to do with your life, with your energy, with your resources. So in your house, my instruction to you, my suggestion, my advice to you is control that damn culture war. Win that war just like a football team has to win the war at the line of scrimmage in order to move the ball down the field. When you talk to your children and your loved ones and people in your circle about who you are and what you represent those values without apology. You make it clear that you want to make investments in your life that are going to put you in a better position. I don't care what those choices are. I don't care if it's related to your physical health and what you eat in your body. I don't care if it's related to your finances and what you're going to do with your money. I don't care if it's related to your relationships and how you foster love in your relationships as opposed to abuse and trauma. Whatever it is, stand on that and do not apologize. And with that said, going back to Tyler Perry, and we were talking about Tyler Perry a minute ago, so let's circle it back to him so we can make sure we have a complete conversation. With Tyler Perry, I like Tyler's values when it comes to Black ownership. I like Tyler's values when it comes to using the power of ownership to build wealth and legacy. I think that's great. Where I don't align, and I think it's okay for people to disagree because I do not dislike this guy. I think he's a very nice man. When I met him, he was extremely nice to me. So this is not a complaint. Honestly, I don't know if I'd ever want to talk to Kanye West again, but I would talk to Tyler Perry because I enjoy speaking with him. So no disrespect is intended at all, but I got to tell the truth. The stuff with the Madea and putting on the dress, Tyler Perry's empire is basically the house that Madea built. And I think that Tyler understands this. So what apparently has occurred is he's just made a trade-off. He said, look, I know people are going to get mad at me for putting on this dress, but I'm going to try to do good things with the money I make from putting on the dress. And I certainly hope that that's true. And I believe that that's true. I have no reason not to believe that is true. Would I put on a dress? No. Would I watch a Tyler Perry movie? No. Not all of them. Well, I'm not gonna say none of them. I mean, but I'm gonna tell you the truth. I can't think of anything that he's made that I watched all the way through. Maybe I watched. I think something about getting married. Janet Jackson was in it or something. I don't remember. I don't remember what the title was, but it was so long ago. So it's no disrespect to Tyler. Happy for him. One of the things they mentioned in the Black Enterprise article is that a lot of Tyler's wealth is built on ownership. So the big thing that you can learn from this is that if you are an owner, you have a greater access to wealth and power than if you are ever invited into somebody else's institution. Hollywood was built by the Jewish community. God bless them for that. Most of those major studios, Paramount Pictures and Fox and MGM and all these other studios were built by people that came from Eastern Europe. That's their house. That's their space. In Atlanta, Tyler built his own thing, and other people are doing great work down there as well. I know Jay Morrison at the Black House is doing an amazing thing in terms of the filmmaking that they're doing down there and all that good stuff. So there's plenty of Black people in our space that are building our own. And so I want to encourage everybody, when you're talking to your kids, don't just talk to them about getting in good with somebody else's thing or trying to break into somebody else's ecosystem. That's fine if it works for them, but don't be surprised when you're not invited to the party. And then at that point, you should have the ability to create your own party because that's the pathway to wealth and power. Working for other people doesn't really work for very long. If you are working for other people, that doesn't mean you can't be a business owner, though. If you are employed by someone else and you want to be a business owner, here's how you can become a business owner in 10 minutes. You ready? Here's how you can become a business owner in 10 minutes. Open up your app, buy shares of stock, and buy shares of stock every week. If you see a company that you like, if you see a business or industry that you want to be involved with, or you go to Starbucks or McDonald's or anywhere else, get there with your child and buy them some Starbucks stock, buy some McDonald's stock. That's a great opportunity for you to educate them on the fact that in this society, we have the ability of anybody in the public to own a piece of any company, any publicly traded company in America. So that's how you can become a business owner. You don't have to go become an entrepreneur. So don't think this is all about entrepreneurship. But it is about ownership at some point. So you got to make sure you own something. Ownership is what makes Tyler Perry powerful, and that is the part that I applaud completely. So this ain't a diss on Tyler. So that's what I want to make that point clear. All right, guys. So do me a favor, hit the thumbs up button, thumbs up, share, subscribe. And Blank Side says, Doc, stop ranting about it. Build a coalition. Man, we got a coalition. Go to BoyceWatkins.com. The coalition is called the Black Business School. We have helped over 10 million people buy their first share of stock. We literally over 10 million people. We built this grassroots with our own money. We bootstrapped it. I left Syracuse University. I left a 6-figure job at Syracuse University to spend time pouring everything I have into the Black community. And the result is the Black Business School. So go to BoyceWatkins.com. You can take a look at that. We got the Black Wealth Boot Camp. Lots of you have gone through it. Thousands of you have gone through that. We've got Black Millionaires of Tomorrow, our program for children. We educate children on wealth. Our children that go through our programs have a financial literacy level that exceeds the average college-educated adult. That's how good we are. My PhD's in finance. I know what I'm talking about. So feel free to just go to my website. There's plenty of stuff there. The coalitions have been built. B1, we got the B1 coalition all around the world. So we're getting it done. So there we go. There's my rant. And Jasmine says, don't stop ranting about it. Shout it from the mountaintop. Our team needs help. Well, I'm not going to stop ranting. I'm going to do this all the way to the grave, sister. So thank you so much for your support. God bless all of you. And shout out to Tyler. Congratulations for being on that list. And I hope he continues to do good work. I'm not a Madea fan. I can't lie about that. But I am a Tyler Perry fan. Let me just say that I like his energy, his spirit. I wish him the very best. And I mentioned my critiques earlier, but I have to stand by that. But at the same time, he does more good than harm. So that's my 2 cents on Tyler. But anyway, hit the thumbs up button. And don't forget, if you want to join me in Los Angeles next month, just go to BoyceWatkins.com, look for the Black Wealth Bootcamp schedule, and you can join us. We'll be there 2 days, deep dive training. You'll walk out of there with all kinds of understanding. And the focus will be the new book I just created called The 10 Commandments of Black Economic Power. You can get a copy at Amazon, or you can get a copy at my website. Feel free to get a copy. And also, if you really want to support the mission, buy multiple copies and give them away to your friends and family. I would love for everybody to know these rules because they're designed to strategically help you and your family, put your family in a position where you're going to have a legacy of wealth that lasts for over 100 years. That's the goal. You have to find your economic team. You have to find your code of conduct. You have to figure out what the rules of the team are, what the strategy of the team is going to be. And then at that point, you'll be on a trajectory for success in every area of life. So God bless you guys. Have a good day. Thank you for listening. I'll talk to you soon. Peace.
Because at this
Here we are, clan the isms, cataclysm, great. Our people out here struggling, trying to make it in this state. Everybody out here doing it, but we the ones who late. Now family, we the ones who gotta delegate. Get that money in the power, never be fake. Stick to cosign for 3. What did he say? Create jobs, support our own. Educate the same and buy back your home. Got 3 degrees, triple 10. 3 PhDs, now we on the CNN. DBTV, let's talk about negligence. Ignorance is bliss, but we can turn it to intelligence. Believe none of what you hear, half of what you see. Let's break it down here on Dr. Boyce TV. Here we are.